Approve the audit report is presented. Discussion. Roll call.
Malloy.
Yes.
Donovan. Yes. Billmeyer. Yes. Jacobson, yes. Oshner, absent. Tribble.
Yes.
Shalkoff, absent. Lightline.
Yes. 6H, the retirement incentive. You need a motion that the board approve accepting blank number for retirement incentive application for the 2011-2012 school year.
Whoever makes the motion needs to give us the number.
What's the number?
By policy, it's anywhere between 0 and 6, 0 meaning the policy is not enforced. 6 is the maximum you can do. We've normally done 2. We're open to whatever you want to try there. I recommend 2. Second.
Motion by Domeyer, second by Preble, that the board approve accepting 2 retirement incentive applications for the 2011-2012 school year. Discussion. Roll call.
Billmeyer. Yes. Tribble.
Yes.
Donovan. Yes. Jacobson, yes. Malloy.
Yes.
Oshner is absent. Shalkoff, absent. Lightline.
Yes. Okay, 6I. Need a motion the board approve cooperation with Exeter Milligan Public Schools for senior high girls softball for the 2011-12 and 2012-13 school year.
I should say a cooperative agreement. Yes. Cooperative agreement.
Second.
That's Tom. Have a motion by Preble and a second by Donovan that the board approve a cooperative agreement with Exeter Milligan Public Schools for senior high girls softball for the 2011-2012 and the 2012-2013 school year. Discussion.
Extra Milligan board is voting on this same time.
That's what Paul told me. Actually Wednesday, I think. Their board meeting is Wednesday this week. So I think it's Wednesday. But yes, it's on their agenda. So,
Okay, roll call.
Tribble.
Yes.
Donovan. Yes. Jacobson, yes. Malloy.
Yes.
Oshner is absent. Shalkoff is absent. Billmeyer. Yes. Lightline.
Yes. Okay, we'll move on to discussion items. 7A is the bus contract.
I sent you lots of stuff home as we got a proposal for a new contract from Dave Volbrack. Dave is not here tonight. Bob Taylor is here. And I asked Bob to come so you guys can maybe ask some questions on how things are going this year or any information you want from Bob. I don't want to keep him here all night. He's been here a long time already. So I would suggest we visit with Bob first or have him talk or whatever you want to do, and then we can talk further about some of the information I sent home to you if you'd like. So, questions of Bob?
How would Bob's role change if he chose to purchase our own bus?
Well, I would hope that his role would stay as it is because he's done a great job, and I would hope we could keep our drivers because they have done a good job. So, I would hope that it would be just a matter of us buying our buses and doing all the formalities that we have to do to do that, but keep the same people on hand. That would be my thought, Roger.
With that, Mark, would we then look at possible part-time person filling in for Bob since you're splitting 2 jobs there? Or do we need that need?
We never really split 2 jobs when Larry did it.
Okay.
It's pretty much, it's just the time element. What we'd have to do, instead of having a separate Bob has a separate contract with Mid-States, we would just pay him overtime. He would be a 10-hour day, basically 10 to 10 and a half hours, just like Larry put in. We just have to pay him overtime if he continued to do that. Right now, he goes to Bob, you can agree with me or change the story here, whatever. Bob goes to the bus barn about 6 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And gets the buses ready. The buses pretty much leave the bus barn by 6:30, 6:35. Bob comes down here and clocks in and starts his janitorial duties. He has a cell phone, so if there's any problems and they call him, then, he may have to clock back out and go do bus duties. And on occasion, he has filled in and driven, and he just doesn't clock in then until after he gets done driving. And Roger Kuhn sometimes works extra hours to make up for any time that Bob might have missed. But Bob's done with his janitorial at 3:30, and he's back over to the bus barn until between 4:30 and 5. Bob, is that fair?
Until they all come in, about 5:15.
How does it work, Bob, for you? You guys want to talk to the guys about it a little bit?
I haven't had any problems, so time-wise it's working out good. And, if the bottom back, the only thing might be mechanical. You have to get it done here. I don't think it'd be much change because you still have to schedule it and have it done. It's still gonna take some time to do it. I'm not a mechanic, obviously I'm not gonna fix the bus. But I think you knew that before. So, that would be the only other thing I would think would be a problem is getting it done. But it's a problem now because you have to schedule it with them also. So, you all know, you don't get a car in the day it's broke. So I think that would be one of the biggest problems we would have too. But I think Weavers can do all of that work here. And probably some of the other guys can do it too. But
Could you tell them how it's done now, kind of explain how it's done through Mid-States?
yeah, what we do right now, we do the inspection like I was talking about every day, every night. And then we have a board they write stuff down on. And I call the mechanic who's in Hebron. And then he comes down and takes care of it all, checks it off. And we've had twice since school started, we had buses that had to be put out of service because we couldn't run them. But the guy had them back in 2 days, and we were back up and running. So it wasn't, well, they weren't like our problems, but they had them back up and running for us. So
And we have two spares.
we have
so
two
that-
spares. Yeah.
So when we have to take one in to get fixed, we have a spare.
Yeah. And I think if you're going to go with them, you need to have 6 buses.
That's
You've got to have those 2 spares to cover it.
To cover activities and
Yeah, because
everything
a lot of
else.
times 2 buses on activities. You have to have three for sure just to run routes, 4 to run the shuttles. Well, we have squeezed them all in coming back from the middle school with 3 buses, but it's really tight and there's activities. So some of those junior high kids aren't coming back. Never in the morning have we tried to get them all in 3 buses because they're packed. They're full. We have to run those 4 buses. So. Either way you go, I think we can still make it work and do it, but, that's your guys' decision. Bob, what procedure is in place now if you do a safety or vehicle inspection before you get in the vehicle? Kind of like your wife does at the post office, you do a walk around, the lights out. Is there a paperwork documentation that clears the driver, that the driver has submitted this saying that turn signal doesn't work?
Yeah.
And so the driver has documentation that he's given that to the supervisor?
Right. Yeah. There's a form every day they fill out with their timesheet, and everything's on it. They check it off if it's out or needs repaired. Some of it I do. If it's lights and that kind of stuff, I do that. If it's mechanical major, we call the guy at Hebron.
So you wouldn't even let it leave the lot to have it?
If they've marked that on the sheet, they can't, basically.
Oh, we have a spare bus.
Yeah, if they mark it and it's out, we get to run the spare bus. So until it's corrected and fixed, they can't run that bus.
Are any of
Which we'd have to do the same thing if we owned them.
Are any of our original buses still with us?
I think we have one that Larry Westberg's driving.
At 2005. Still a good bus.
Yeah.
It was like just a year old, I think, when Mid-State started operating. Is that right, Al? Would you say?
Yeah.
And they've brought 2 newer ones down this year, start of the year.
Fuel-wise, do you have a preference over diesel or gas?
I don't. I mean, everything we got now is diesel. but,
I see in here some of the new ones are getting up to 11 to 12 miles per gallon, is that right?
I don't think any of ours are.
That's what I was gonna say, I've never seen.
Ours aren't that new, I don't think.
That's, I talked to Corey Sunberg at Bluebird Bus, and he says they have them now that'll get between 10 and 12 miles a gallon. I'm sure that's not starting and stopping on a route, it's probably going down the interstate maybe or something. I don't know.
And then, if we were to buy them, would you recommend different sizes or all the same size?
I think we'd wanna look at that, yeah. I mean,
Different sizes?
Yeah. I think like an 84, I think you can get an 84, and there's times where we're taking 2 buses, we could get down to just taking 1
Oh,
and get everybody on that bus.
that saves quite a bit.
Yeah. The only thing, we wanna make sure they fit the barn,
Yeah, we wanted to make sure. we
especially if
fit
you
the
get
bus.
diesel.
Oh, yeah, that'd be,
We didn't know if an 84 passenger, we're gonna get some specs on the feet and just see if it would, but we currently park some 65 passengers in there and they fit with ease, so
Yeah.
I think it would
I
probably.
think there's room, I just don't know how much longer they are. I haven't looked at it or nothing, but
Another thing we'd have to consider, you know, is a wheelchair lift, like a mini bus with a wheelchair lift, and I think even one of the big buses with a wheelchair lift, because if we have an elementary wheelchair-bound student, and we want them to go on the field trip, they ought to be able to ride with everyone else
yeah,
and not in their own vehicle, so we would want to, we do have wheelchair-bound students, so, I would think we'd want to do that also, so. And Bob and I have talked about all this, so.
If you go with an 84 passenger, then you have to have a different license or classification or not on your CDL.
I don't think so. Al, do you know, do you have to have a different type of license to drive an 84 passenger bus, or does your regular
No.
CDL work? The only time you need is when you have air brakes, right?
Yeah.
Air brakes is what makes the difference, I think, whether it's got air brakes or not. And we have just one driver air brake certified right now.
I only have 1 bus today.
But we can get everybody air brake certified
It's
fairly
not-
easily.
Yeah, it's not a big deal.
It's not a hard test to take or to do.
The only thing is you gotta redo the whole drive part. Just, you gotta take a written portion and you gotta go back and out and do the whole CDL drive all over again. They won't just do test you on the brakes, but everybody passes, so I don't see that being a big issue.
And right now, Bob, and correct me again, we got 4 regular route drivers, and we got 2 special ed type drivers, actually 3, we got 1 full-time and 2 that share a position, right?
Correct, yeah.
And then how many people do we have around certified that sub and do routes and sub, you know, offhand?
Right now, we just have 2 subs,
And that's Dave Moore.
Dave Moore and Brad Stevens. But I'm driving also, which I don't think Larry drove his last couple of years, I don't know, Al probably knows better than I do.
He had a diabetic problem, so he couldn't drive anymore.
That's right.
So I fill in quite a bit on the routes, and then send the other guys on the activities.
And when you fill on the routes, Roger just puts in extra time to do some cleaning here. for you,
Sometimes it
correct?
is, yeah. If it's at night, I don't leave till 3 anyway, so it's only a half an hour difference.
Right.
The morning's a bigger deal because it's 6:30 to 8:30. So, and I've had to do that twice is all so far. But that kind of cuts into here. But we've been able to pick it up to, oh, you guys check with Mr. Rose on that, but I think we've been able to keep this up too, and the bus, so, I think it's worked out okay.
Are they local drivers, people that drive in?
All but one is from Clay Center, and he's trying to get moved over here. He's got his house for sale in Clay Center now.
his wife works here too, doesn't
Yeah, she works at the bank, yeah. Right now, they're all, I think they're all pretty good guys, good drivers, real responsible, and do a great job. And that's, to get certified is a hassle. It's not hard, but it's a 1.5 month process just to get it done. So, you don't wanna lose them if you can.
Wasn't Ronnie Salmon also?
He was, but he let it expire,
Okay.
and he doesn't wanna go through the hassle of going through all that again to get it all back updated. You gotta take level classes, you know, I offer them so many times a year, you gotta make sure you get in there and